we also need to talk about matters royal because there's so much going on in multiple ways. Later in the show, we'll be talking about the question of reparations. But the royal journalist and commentator and author Robert Jobson has a new book out, and he's resurrecting all sorts of stories that he's sourced and come out, and delighted he's with me now this morning on Tice Talk. Robert, thanks for being with us here this Easter Sunday. Great to see you. So you've got an exciting new book out entitled Our King. It's serialised in the Mail and the Mail on Sunday. I've just been enjoying the snippets. I mean, you really have sort of identified some of the massive issues over the last couple of years. Tell us first of all, how long does it take to write a book like this? How hard is it? You've got your own sources and you have to check and double check. How long does this take to write such a book?
Well, it's blood, sweat and tears, really, writing a book. But the reality is I wrote a book called Charles at 70, 5 years ago, just about. So I had a good foundation. I've spent 33 years as royal correspondent in various Fleet Street places, and now the Evening Standard. So, yeah, I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. I've got good sources. I broke the fact that Charles was getting married. So, people sniff at anonymous sources, but... they exist and they're real. So a book like this, this has probably been in the working many, many years, 5 years, 6 years. To write it, once you've got the deal with a publisher, and one's published by John Blake through Bonnier, once you've got that deal, you've probably got about 8 months, 9 months, which is a push.
And a fascinating story about the Platinum Jubilee, that absolutely incredible moment when the Queen came out on the balcony, but the subtext behind that you write about.
Yeah, I mean, the Queen at 96, I think was heroic in what she did that day. I mean, I've had some tweets from people I frankly don't respect from the Republic organisation saying what was heroic about that. Well, and why was it heroic that she didn't want to be seen in a wheelchair? Well, because she's representing the country. You can't be head of state if you're in a wheelchair in terms of the way people will start viewing you, in terms of her perception. You could easily be head of state in a wheelchair if that's the perception you're happy with. But she wasn't happy with that. And Her Majesty at 96 should be respected to present herself the way she wanted. And on that day, she wasn't feeling great. We now know that she probably had a form of cancer, and I think the then Prince of Wales, the now King, urged her to make that final farewell, really, on the balcony. There was never going to be a Jubilee like it again, and there never probably will be. And she was flown in, and all the staff behind the scenes were getting wheeled to the right place until she got to the cusp of that balcony, where out came the trusty stick, and off she went, unaided, to wave and give that what happened to be the final salute. Now, I've got a few Republicans out there saying, well, what was heroic about that? That's heroic, in my opinion.
Completely heroic. And what it I think, reveals to us all is that incredible sense of determination, dedication, service to her people, and it's that lasting image that we've all got in perpetuity. That radiant smile, she looked fantastic in that green outfit. I mean, that's timeless, it's priceless.
Angela Kelly did a terrific job dressing her that day. She was in, that beautiful bright colours so everybody could see her. What people don't understand is that's her doing her duty. They wouldn't have known she was in terrible pain. Only the immediate family would have known that. And possibly really only the then Prince of Wales, the King, because, she would have confided in him deeply, but it was down to him, and he said, look, you really got to come. If you can make that final salute, this is your salute to the people. This is the salute this is the balcony where Churchill joined the King. This is the balcony where she had waved after a wedding and the coronation. So it's a hugely important moment to all those people, and I do think it's heroic, and I do say, people that keep wanting to send ridiculous tweets. Well, maybe when you're 96, if you make it to that stage, and you can do anything, I appreciate it.
I think it's timeless and priceless, and essentially it's with the nation forever. I was also struck by the lovely story of her telling off the then Prince William, now the Prince of Wales, with his helicopter flight. What was that all about, Robert?
Well, you know, he's a great pilot. I've seen him in live and doing all sorts of tricks with his skills, and obviously he's very competent. But I think what the Queen is, always used to wear, like the King does now, two hats: one as a head of a family and one with a crown. And she's always conscious of the continuity, and was always conscious of the continuity of the crown. And it's important that the heir doesn't travel, really. The heir to the spare and the spare don't travel together because of safety. Now, he was flying up, I think it was the day of the Chelsea Garden Centre, and he flew his entire family up to Norfolk. Oh, well, I don't think she was very happy about that. It was the day that she appeared in that buggy, and I think she gave a ticket off saying, you've got a responsibility to the line of succession. Now, I'm not saying that that's a dig at Harry and Meghan. What I'm saying is, you have a responsibility to the line of succession. And helicopters, look, there have been some pretty awful helicopter crashes, haven't they, involving the chairman of Leicester? I think Harding at Chelsea, so it can happen. I'm not saying it would happen, but
it can happen. But it's a priceless story, the concept of the Queen telling off her grandson. But you're right, strategically, it's a very important rule that the royal family has, which is not to have two members of the same family in travelling together, without question. Just finally, Robert, the future-looking story you've got about the King and indeed the now Prince of Wales slimming down their staff. I mean, this is obviously quite significant in royal terms in the overall household.
Well, it always comes down to money in the end, Richard, because Parliament will be all going through how much money the monarchy costs. Every MP is accountable to his constituents, and there's some in those constituencies that don't want the monarchy, don't think it's relevant to them. So I think ultimately the King has always realised he wants to streamline the monarchy so that it's funded by the Duchy of Lancaster, the sovereign grant, and then the Prince of Wales William will be funding his family through the Duchy of Cornwall. Well, both of those duchies, past the duchy from the left-hand side or whatever it was, generate something like £25 million every year, that trust. And that's what they were established for, landed trust for that reason. The sovereign grant, that pays for all the rest of the travel and other things. Now, that comes directly out of the taxpayers. So those two trusts are there. And, of course, the King wants value for money. And I think that, he's realising that, well, he's long realised that you can't really expect to be, he's not some sort of housing association for cousins. He's there to represent the monarchy. And they're pretty well off, some of these other cousins. So cut your cloth, get your own houses. And if you want to work for the monarchy, that's great. You'll get paid along the way. But the reality is, it is coming down in size naturally. Harry and Meghan, they've gone off to, do their own thing, maybe coming back when it suits them. Then you've got Andrew wants to keep going because...
Wants to go. So finally, Robert, before I let it go, my question for every guest today, this Easter Day, what would you like to resurrect, Robert?
My father.
Oh, bless. Wonderful. Me too with my mother, Robert. Thank you very much indeed. Happy Easter to you. That's Robert Jobson, the author and royal commentator and journalist. He's got a new book out, Our King. I think it's coming out this week and is clearly going to be a fabulous read. Do get a copy of that. It's serialised in the Mail on Sunday and I think yesterday's Mail.